Hello, my friends. Nope, we're not there yet. Hello, this is Dawn Takis. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. I'm so excited about this podcast. We're going live with some of the city's best photographers and videographers, and we wanted to bring forth a conversation for the couples about how to protect your budget, how to protect your content from your wedding day when you're going through the process of interviewing and booking photographers, things that you should be looking at, considering, red flags. The more knowledge you have, the more empowered you are. And I wanted to pick the brains of some of my peers in the industry. They're all members of pittsburghbrides.com. You can find them there. And I'm going to ask them one at a time if you can introduce yourself, starting with Steve. Can you introduce yourself, please?
Yeah, thank you for having me on here. My name is Steven. I run Eternal Lens Media with my wife, Ellie. We are a photo and video husband and wife team. One of the few things that kind of sets us apart is that we try to do full-fledged video and photo where instead of just like highlight films or something like that. And that's part of our package, but we do the full thing. And we also specialize in vintage mediums such as 35 millimeter film, Super 8, and so forth.
And you have been you were a photographer before you got into wedding, correct?
Yes, actually, I know most of the time it happens the other way around, but I started off in photos doing weddings about 3 years ago, and then we quickly picked up, and about I think 6, 7 months in, we decided to go full time after we added video. We had a lot of bookings just from that side of things, and kind of just kept growing from there. We hit our first six-figure mark just like 6 months ago, and it was a big goal for us, you know?
Glad. So happy for you. Congratulations on that. Joshua, introduce yourself, please.
Hi, I'm Josh Fassbinder. I own Capture the Room Media. We specialize in photography and videography, leaning more towards videography now. We're more cinematic, and we're big. My big thing is storytelling, beginning to end. We're actually shifting a lot of our packages to just all day coverage because I've done 4 to 6 hours, and I'm just like, I can put together something really magical, but all day is like, you're capturing beginning to end of your day. And that's what most people want anyways. So that's our big thing is storytelling and keeping it cinematic and keeping it fun. I like to have fun too. So.
And your wife is your second, correct?
Yes. So she does tag along. We have a beautiful little 1-year-old boy, and he is obsessed with her. So she doesn't get out so much. He's a little clingy right now. So we have a couple other people. I hire out drone services, stuff like that. We offer drone. They're all Part 107 certified. We want to keep things safe and legal. So, but yeah.
I appreciate that. Nesserina, introduce yourself and tell us about your business.
Yeah, so my name is Nesserina Sims. Our company is the Wild Roses Photo and Video. So we've only been doing video for like a couple of months now. So it's something really new to us. So we lean towards photography more. And we try to do a little bit more editorial pictures, more documentary, candid kind of photography. So that's what we want to portray in our brand. My background has nothing to do with photography. My background is in engineering. I just wanted to do something a little bit more creative, and I've always been inclined towards photography. And then I just started doing it about 3 years ago, and we've been going strong.
And I'm so happy to have you a part of Pittsburgh Brides because our community has always been open for all phases of businesses, young businesses, veteran businesses. We got to make a pathway for those new businesses to come in, because you never know who's the next big thing, the next Warhol. Caitlin Logan, photography. Caitlin Logan, introduce yourself.
Well, my name is obviously Caitlin, and I own Caitlin Logan Photography. My husband is my second shooter, but I wouldn't dare put him on something like this because he's a diesel mechanic Monday through Friday, and he's not great with anything legal or formal. He actually started doing this with me because we never got a chance to see each other. He works during the week, and then I was gone all every weekend, so it was basically he joins, or we just kind of live completely separate lives. But I've been doing it for about 7 years, 5 in like specializing in weddings. And we have 3 kids, so I'm busy.
Yeah, I know you're being a mom and doing editing at the same time.
Yeah.
I know you have.
I give you credit. Absolutely.
Rough some days.
I have 2 dogs, and I think that's too much.
2 kids on my end.
Yeah.
I also have a bird, so
Oh,
I saw the
right.
bird. The bird's being friendly, I see.
Yeah.
So the reason I requested these photographers to come on board and talk to everyone today is we've been seeing a lot of bad scenarios happening to brides, not specifically the brides in our group, but just in our community in general. And recently there was a videographer that a bride was complaining about that had their footage from 2024 and has not yet released her content or any composition of her video, and come to find out there were multiple brides that had this same complaint. And it made me take pause and say, wait a minute, when the services are paid for and rendered on the wedding day and you're delivering goods and services to them beyond wedding day, what is the expectation there? And I know many of you render those photos out quick and you get your galleries out quick, but what is a reasonable time and what is an overly extended period of time, and how do the couples kind of know that going into it and know how to plan to protect themselves? Any thoughts, anyone?
I mean, I'll speak up here, I guess.
Great. That's my girl.
Go, Caitlin.
For me personally, my turnaround times they're listed just about everywhere on my website. Before somebody even inquires, they can see exactly what my packages include. In the formal email from like inquiry on, I always tell people like, hey, my turnaround time is this to this. Mm-hmm. Usually around that date, it'll be max because I have so many weddings. But then it's also listed in the contract. So several times. For me personally, I think mine is 6 to 8 weeks. And for me, I think anything beyond that can be a little bit excessive, just for the simple fact that as many weddings as I'm taking on, these people are also waiting for their galleries. And I want to make sure that they have a chance to relive the moment as often as possible. So it's hard to say like what the standard should be because everybody lives different lives. I do this full time, but again, the kids also play a part. So that 6 to 8 week time frame for me gives me enough of a chance to actually edit them in a way that I'm happy to send that gallery. I don't want to rush through things.
Nesrina?
Yeah, I think 4 to 6 weeks is what our timeline is, but also because we don't do this full time. So this is something that we try to not overextend ourselves so we don't take as much client as everybody else in the game probably. So 4 to 6 weeks. But typically if you get it earlier, you'll get it earlier. So we don't typically want to pass the deadline of what we give you in the beginning. But I think the most important part is that we always have it on the contract, like Caitlin said. So you as a bride, if you're looking for, like the timeline that you're supposed to get your pictures or your videos by, just make sure that your contract has that details before you actually signed it.
And what's the recourse for the couples in the event it goes beyond that? I mean, all contracts should be balanced. It should, it's a scale. It should be
Be fair.
equal. It should be fair to both parties. And one of the brides that I spoke with recently said, I'm afraid to say anything. I'm afraid to get confrontational. It's been since 2024. I'm afraid he's going to delete or remove my content. And how just utterly sad is that
Right.
you've paid in full, you've been
Mhm.
patient, you're waiting for your content, and you feel like you have no recourse but to basically have it held hostage. Any
Yeah.
thoughts on that, Steve?
Well, I'll start by saying that I actually did just I used to have something in my contract that kind of protected both parties, but it was a little more vague. I kind of updated it recently. So for photos, I typically turn around and like under 4 weeks, usually around the 4 week mark. But there's in my contract, if it takes more than 3 months, I've never had to do it, but if it takes more than 3 months, release of the raw files automatically, even if it doesn't designate my brand, they at least have access to something. Again, never had to use it, but that basically would be the compromise. They're getting raw files, which is something that we don't normally deliver as photographers at all. The same thing with video, except for the timeline's a little different. Mine's 9 months for video. At that point, they get the raw files. Now I'm usually done in 3 months, and the only reason it even takes that long is I deliver 3 different films, and those 3 different films can take quite a while to edit. It usually takes me about 100 to 400 hours per wedding of editing for what I do.
Yeah, video editing is very complex. I know that. Joshua, your thoughts on that since you're in video?
As far as like recourse, is that what we're still on?
Yeah, like, is it fair? Like, is there any provisions in any of your contracts of if it goes beyond the date expected? And if not, would it behoove couples, if they're working with a new photographer, a young photographer, maybe a photographer that doesn't have as much, reviews or online presence, or even somebody seasoned, if they're not sure, depending on the amount of money that they're paying them, would it be fair for them to ask for something like that, a contingency date where, if I don't have my footage by this date, that you would release the raws? I mean, I know photographers are artists. They don't want to release the raws, but
Raw's
on the
usually
other
rough,
side of the
so.
coin,
Yeah.
where's the balance?
I think that these couples, they're investing a lot of money most of the time into a service that we're providing. So we're being paid to do something, and if you're not doing that, I mean, we were there. You only do it once, right? So
Yeah,
that moment's done and gone. So yeah, I think it's absolutely more than okay for the couples to have a contingency plan of, okay, if this isn't done by this amount of time, which most people have in their contracts, we're actually revamping our entire everything Rome right now. So we'll be including more and more of that stuff, but having that deadline and releasing raw files, absolutely, because at least they're not losing everything, like at least they can maybe take that to somebody else, and somebody else can do it for them, or they do it themselves. I've been seeing that more and more. I think editing software, even down to Instagram, it's not great, but you can do
Right.
the little things, right? So
Yeah.
No, I 100% believe, they're paying me to do something, so that's their property, and my I think it's a balance, but yeah, absolutely.
Caitlin, your thoughts?
Sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Steve.
I was just going to add on to that real quick. I was just going to say, and if you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, and assuming something crazy doesn't happen, you should never have to release them anyway. So
Correct.
it's just that peace of mind.
Correct.
Yes.
Caitlin, your thoughts on this?
So I am very firm on not delivering raws, but I've also never been in the type of situation where that would be necessary.
Right.
Yeah, agreed.
And like I've discussed before with Dawn, like if there were to, I mean, life happens for everybody. So if it were to ever happen, and it has happened to me where I've had to be 1 to 3 days late, I keep constant communication with my clients. And I think that makes a world of difference, because there's a difference between a client being understanding and realizing like, hey, life happens, and then just being completely left, with no communication for months, waiting for footage that they have no idea if they're really going to get.
Yeah.
In the event that something were to happen to me, the way that I have it set up through like my insurance policy and my husband is that those raw files they would immediately be sent to an outsourcer that I've already vetted myself.
I like that.
I don't outsource my editing as it is, but then like if they were unhappy with the outsourcer's editing, they could then get the raw files. Because I wouldn't want like something that happened to me to affect my clients long term. I would still want them to have that footage. So there are several different people who have access to those raw files because of how I back them up. So that's kind of how I protect those images and make sure like they'll never be completely just ghosted on my end.
Awesome.
And that's what's perpetuating the problem, to be very clear.
Yeah.
Like this isn't a videographer that is in communication with the clients. In this particular scenario, the videographer contacted me, was not a member of our group, and asked if he could make a comment on the thread. And when he messaged me, I said, why don't you just reach out to the bride that made the post? Because people were making both negative and positive comments on the post. So I thought it was a healthy conversation. I was like, why don't you just reach out to her and solve the problem? And he said, yes, I will. Just let me comment on the post. He commented on the post and then didn't contact any of the brides, and they're all still livid because they don't know anything. They're completely in the dark. And I just, the mother instinct in me, the maternal instinct in me, I just feel so bad for them. And I'm like, what is wrong with communicating with them, even if it's bad news that you're delivering?
Communicating.
And you say, we lost the file, I can't do it for another 3 months, or
Honestly.
I'm gonna pay you back, or, whatever it is, I'm gonna reshoot it for you. Like whatever it is, you've got to keep that communication going. Caitlin, you nailed it on that. Like that is the fundamental part. And but I do think that the couples still live in this world of contracts. They're on an unbalanced scale. And all of you, I would recommend, all of you I would hire for my granddaughter or my daughter's wedding. All of you. I think very highly of each of you. We're not talking about photographers that deliver, that are professional. We're talking about photographers and videographers that, maybe something went bad in their life. Maybe they were a good photographer or videographer. But something has sent them in a different direction, and communication is the key. Now, Serena, do you have any thoughts on this?
Yeah, I just think that it's just a communication part of everything. I'm not sure why, being in the industry where you actually have to service people, that you cannot communicate to the customers. So I think that's the number one problem, is the communication. But I mean, I honestly can't even imagine being in that position where I cannot get anything out of one of the most important day of my life. So
Yep. I think at the end of the day, it's just customer service. It's honestly, like you said, Caitlin, communicating and just making them happy. Make it work. Dawn, like you said, just contacting them and being like, hey, like, what can we do? I want to make it right. I want to fix it. I'm very present with the situation. So it's just customer service.
So tell me, who's got some ideas on red flags when couples are shopping for photographers? What would be some immediate red flags? Any input?
Little to no reviews, I think, is usually when I started off, that was the hardest thing to get by. Was other than not obviously having galleries or anything, was just not having reviews and building that up. Family friends helped me. I did sessions for them, and we started there and climbed.
I guess
reviews for sure.
Response time from whenever you start your inquiry. That is honestly a big red flag. If you have to wait more than 72 hours to get a response when you're inquiring for your business and they're not responding to you, in 72 hours time, I think that's just not a good.
What about form of payment? Maybe pushing someone, pay me by Zelle, pay me by Cash App. That would be a huge red flag for me. I need, and I know that we're all salespeople, and we all have different styles, and some people like to take it away sell, or we're booked, that somebody else is interested in that date and they want to book. You let me tell you something. There was 6,249 weddings in Allegheny County in 2024. That's 120 weddings a week just in Allegheny County. And I know in our group that we have over 900 photographers that have joined. That's a ratio of 10 photographers for every wedding.
It's incredible.
It's a buyer's market.
Yeah.
The brides, the grooms, the soonly-weds, you have the power. You just have to be patient. Don't let anyone push you into signing something. Don't let anyone, rush you into booking them. Shop around. Mama told you, right? And it's okay to have 3 photographers and shopping them all until you get everything that you need to know. Be patient. And if they're not patient, it's okay, because there's another one behind them that wants your business.
Yep.
I think, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I think for when I was looking for my own wedding photographer and videographer, a major red flag to me, and this is mainly because I do this, what I had asked of the people I inquired with was to see full scale wedding galleries of all different lighting scenarios and like couples. I mean, I'm a bigger girl, so I wanted to see wedding galleries of people who were similar in size to me, because we all know that posing, I mean, you have to know how to pose each couple. Like if there's something, I'm going to be frank, I didn't want my double chin out the whole time. So I wanted to see that somebody could work with a body that was like mine. And there were a lot of photographers who, instead of sending me full scale galleries from a, full sun day and overcast and rainy day, that they would just send me like 10 of their best images. That
curated portfolio.
That is not what I wanted. I don't want to see a blog post from the one, best wedding you had in 2022. I wanted to see several different weddings of different styles, locations, all of that, to make sure that I was going to get a consistent product no matter what my wedding looked like. I feel like that was a big red flag for me when I was shopping.
Yeah,
definitely.
Steve, you had some thoughts?
Oh, that was a great point right there. Absolutely. Because, if they're not willing to share a full gallery, because of course there's your best photos. And in every wedding, you probably have, if you're like me, you probably have 50 to 100 really good photos from that wedding that are like portfolio worthy or close. And then you have your everyday photos, which still should look good and show that you know how to understand lighting and so forth and things like that. But I was just going to point out, I would ask somebody, if you were looking for a vendor, ask them if they would be willing to meet for a coffee. And even if you don't want to, and just see if they'll say yes. Because if they're fake or they're not a reliable person, or they don't think that they have the personality to work well with others, they're not going to want to show up. If they at least offer the option, or even if you have to ask and they offer the option and say, yeah, that's fine, that's a good flag there.
Yeah, personality has a lot to do with it. We can't click and hire our talent online. It's really important to know who you're working with. If you feel comfortable, there's already so much pressure on your wedding day. And when somebody puts lights and camera on you, it's like deer in headlights. You really got to be, comfortable with whoever's taking your photos, that you communicate well with them. They communicate well with your bridal party. You feel everybody's going to niche. I know that is super important. Another thing that I would say is, and I vetted all of you for pittsburghbrides.com, but a COI, a certificate of insurance, whether they're registered with the state or not, and they may be filing their taxes as Caitlin Logan Photography, DBA Caitlin Logan, and doing a 1040 form, which means she doesn't necessarily have to be registered with the state, although she is, I do believe, with her LLC. But if they have a certificate of insurance, a COI, it will have their physical address on it. And if you're doing business by internet and you're, contracting everything through email or DMing or what have you, at least you have a physical address on them if they have insurance. And if they don't have insurance, run as fast as you can.
Run for the hills.
Run for the hills.
Run.
Nobody should be in this business without insurance.
No,
Walking into
never.
any wedding
It's
venue,
not even
right?
expensive on our end, you know? I mean,
Yeah.
like, it
Right.
just proves that you're real.
It's not bad.
I think I
No.
pay $17 more.
I pay
And-
more
Yeah.
to deliver photos monthly than I do for insurance.
Yeah, right. Exactly. I
Right.
think I do too.
Absolutely.
And a lot of the venues nowadays still ask for the COI anyway. So
Yeah.
Yep.
it
At least a
actually
couple
helps your
times a year.
business. Yeah. It helps your business get around too. So
Yeah.
it's a
Yep.
good
Mhm.
thing to have.
But when the consumer has it, they now have their address.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like, because
Yeah.
that
I like that.
it's
Yep.
linked. It's linked with your insurance carrier, and your insurance carrier
Mhm.
is going to make sure that your address is on it. So I
Yeah.
want to talk a little bit about, when you're vetting and you're trying to find, all these things and vet your photographer, videographer for your wedding. Let's talk about the wedding websites and all of these awards and
Mhm.
badges that, in my opinion, and I think all of you already know this, are disingenuous because it's a pay to play platform. Like, you get
Mhm.
the badge because you've been with that site for so long. One site in
Yeah.
particular, you only have to get 5 reviews for the entire year and you win best of. How exciting.
Oh.
And you're not
That's-
I know
competing.
which one you're talking about.
Yeah, you're not competing with other photographers. Like, Joshua, you got 5, Steve got 10, Caitlin got 20, and she's now best of. No, all of you only have to get
We're
5
all
to be
best
best
of.
of. And the consumers
Oh.
don't know that,
Yeah.
right? It's
Yeah.
very disingenuous. I'm not saying that the reviews aren't valid when people go there and write a review, or maybe
Yeah.
found you there and wrote. And when you read the reviews, what should they be looking for, Caitlin?
So I think for me personally, and I'm going to keep saying that because each vendor is going to be so different that I don't
Yep.
I don't want to offend anybody. But when it comes to reviews that I was looking at, and I keep saying that because we're talking about the clients.
Yeah.
So when I was looking for myself, I wanted to make sure that I was seeing consistency the whole entire way through. So if they're getting good reviews on personality, I want to see that it's personality with everybody, not just, a couple here and there. Or galleries, like when we're talking, the gallery was delivered in 2 weeks. I don't want to see that they had a wedding that was taken before that and they're still trying to deliver that one, but they kind of skipped ahead in their queue, which that is actually a situation I came across, and I went with a different photographer because of that. Because for me, it was how fair the photographer was and how consistent they were providing their services to each client. I didn't want somebody who excelled with photos with a model couple and then, personality wise, they were great with another. I wanted somebody who could do all of that. So those are my favorite reviews to get. And that's kind of, each wedding that I take on, that's what I strive to do, is provide each one of my clients with the same exact service the entire way around.
That was a great answer, Caitlin.
So that's
Good
Good job.
Politically correct.
Yeah.
Great answer.
Love it.
And anyone else have any input on that? Any thoughts?
Just for reviews, I would say making sure they're genuine. Anybody can have anybody, and you can. I don't know if you can still do it. I'm sure you can, but just paying people to review. Hey, Josh did great for our wedding. Versus the books that you genuinely get, because I think a lot of us put our heart and soul into that day, and they spill it, and that's all good. And then sometimes too, and not necessarily for weddings for me, but like if I'm just looking at reviews for a company or something, I look at some of the reviews and make sure that they're real people. You can generally go to a profile and see if it's real, fake. If they've got a lot of friends, no friends, or the internet's a scary place sometimes. So I think doing your homework is so important.
That's why we're having this conversation, because the internet is a scary place, and it's a scary place when you're, taking a good portion of your budget towards photography and only to feel blindsided after the wedding. For reviews, I there's 2 philosophies I have with reviews. If somebody's writing you a good review and they loved everything that you did, they'll go deep into
Yes.
detail on everything. And it's the same thing if you failed epically. They'll go deep. Like the keyboard sometimes is their only recourse. And I think that's part why we're having this conversation tonight is that the brides are going to the keyboard. But you know, look for that authenticity. The more detail that they have in the review, chances are that is someone who's really feeling it, whether it's positive or negative. Nasrina, any thoughts?
I think whenever you're looking through reviews, I think the best ones are the ones where they attach some pictures from your
I like that.
wedding too, because then you can actually see their work versus what they're talking about too.
Yeah.
Did you know that Google allows you to do that, photographers?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You should encourage Google's like the best place to get reviews because it helps your SEO. And if you nudge them and say, please add a couple photos for me, if you do that, that would be amazing. It really helps because it gets everybody to have a vibe for your business. And I think that I have covered everything. We've been on for about 30 minutes. Going back to processing time, I'm just going to ask you guys really quick. So you think that 12 to 16 weeks is a fair time for photography? Anybody object to that? 12 to 16 weeks?
For photos,
Yes, for photos.
more than reasonable, I think.
Yeah. If it's past the 16 weeks, that's a little bit too long.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a stretch. Yeah.
But
What
I
about
also,
video? Go ahead, Caitlin. I'm sorry.
I think it also depends, like when it comes to photo, I think the whole idea of like a sneak peek gallery needs to be in there as well. Like, I'm not sure how anybody else does it, but I deliver a sneak peek gallery of a minimum of 20 photos. And that's within 24 hours of their wedding. Actually, it's a reception start time. I have that outlined in my contract.
Yep.
Not everybody does it within the 24 hours, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's just kind of the standard I've set for myself. But I do think that if you're making clients wait that long, they at least deserve some photos to go on and post and maybe send out cards.
Yes.
So that's a big thing.
Yeah.
And it's because you're passionate about what you do. That's why you're too excited on Sunday. You can't wait to get those galleries out. I know you. I'm going to just call it as I see it. Joshua, go ahead.
Just the drive home is I'm always still pumped up, all the dancing, and just that's when you see everyone having like the absolute most fun. But I get home personally for video. This is if anybody does see this and they're future brides of mine, I hope I don't spoil anything, but usually I get home, I'll start editing depending how late it is, because I'm ramped up, I'm excited still. And I usually do from the reception within 24 hours for video. I do a 1 minute like sizzle like reel, give them something to chew on until their final films are complete. So it gives them something to stay excited about. They get something, boom, right there. They know I'm a real thing, and they're getting their stuff. And then that gives me a little more time. You know, I usually try not to go over a month personally for photos, and video is now like 2 months. Just given that next day I get home, we edit, and getting it out as soon as possible is with the quality, obviously.
Passion for involvement. Love what you do. When you love what you do for a living, you never work a day in your life. And I think that's why you sit down and have a cup of coffee with anyone that you're considering to hire, because you need to hear that in their voice. You need to hear how excited they are.
You can see it
for your business, because if they're not excited for your business, somebody else will be. I promise you that. There's a lot of talent in this city, a lot of talented photographers in all different scopes and all different types of, photography, light, bright, airy, dark, moody, all across the board. And also the video. Like, I know, Nasrina, you just dived into, what do they call it? The Super 8 video?
Yeah. I think Steven's doing it too.
Yeah. It's, I mean, as you know, you probably know, film in general is becoming back real big. Try going to a thrift store and finding any film camera. There's none on the shelves anymore anywhere. Even the antique shops are always sold out anymore.
I mean, I had to get mine from Japan, so
So I actually had to order some of my cameras from Japan as well. Sold
that's
out
crazy. Wow. It's always something new trending.
I have a
Yeah.
question here from a wedding planner if anybody wants to answer it. Is there a way to guarantee that photos are received after the wedding when payments are likely paid up prior to the event? I think we tapped on that with the
contract protections and so
Contract.
forth.
yeah. So the typical contract, just to clarify, most photography contracts, maybe Caitlin's does, but most do not have a what if scenario. What if something happens? What if you become incapacitated as the photographer? What if life happens? And, God only knows things happen, to all of us.
God.
Act of God, right?
Yeah.
What about their content? How can they know that they're going to get their content? And I suggested maybe asking your photographer for an amendment to your contract that says, okay, you've said I'm going to have my content, within 6 months. If I don't have it within 6 months, can you give me some options that would maybe provide the raws to me, or being able to at least view the raws or something to that effect? Steve, you and I talked about this a little bit. You had some pretty good ideas on this, and you even modified your contract recently. Kara, to answer your question, go ahead and come back to that. Circle back just 1 second.
Yeah. Basically, we had brainstormed a little bit about almost like an escrow for data, where the data would hold the raw files or access to the raw files. And if it wasn't delivered to a certain point, then those files would be released to the client regardless, without any intervention from the photographer or videographer. Now, raw files don't really represent your brand, of course. So you really want to do everything in your power to actually deliver your product and not just some type of recompense to the bride and groom. But something like that might be a good idea for some third party listening out there.
Yep. I've already kind of put some fillers out on that. So in closing, before we close this out, our goal here, all of these photographers are stellar, top of their field. They do what they say what they mean, follow through, follow up, deliver more than it's expected, as do most photographers. This is, it's just one or two bad apples that, are really hurting at the industry and making the consumer weary to buy and sign. And so what the whole point of this podcast is to say, take pause, ask questions, interview a couple different photographers. Don't go, you got the bling on your hand, crazy on Instagram and want to hurry up and book someone without, doing your due diligence and vetting them and getting referrals. A really good way to get feedback is to ask them for the email for the last 3 weddings that they did, the last 3. And, maybe some of those couples do not want to provide their email, but I guarantee you the one that loved them will, because they want to brag about it, right?
Right.
I'm thinking about Caitlin or Kayla Trout, right? She talked to me for an hour about her wedding. She was so excited to brag on Caitlin Logan. So that's
awesome.
Another tip for you. Before we close this plane, everybody give me, are you a Nikon or a Canon? Nikon, raise your hand.
I'm probably the only videographer in the city that shoots on Nikon.
Canon, raise your hand. Okay, I'm not a photographer, but I own one. And
Canon.
I'm busted. I like to take
Canon all the way.
We do videos on Sony, though.
Yeah.
Oh, Sony, the other one.
I'm Canon all the way.
I hope that this is the beginning of a conversation, and we may have some peers in the industry who are like, what the heck are you talking about, Rawls? And I understand that as an artistic person, that nobody wants to release their content or their Rawls. They don't want to mess with that. But you do have to understand the contracts have to be balanced. That's why we have the scales and justice, right? And the client should have to have some kind of recourse of some kind if something happened. God knows what. It could be something beyond your control. It's your responsibility. You're going to be a wife, a husband, a soon-newlywed. It's your responsibility to protect yourself. And so these are things that you may want to consider. And don't be afraid to ask a contract photographer that you want to hire, can we make a little amendment to that contract? It's okay. That's completely within normal business to ask for that. You are all gorgeous people. Thank you so much for being here with me and being a part of our community. I hope we have more conversations like this to open it up so that the couples feel safe.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
You're
Yes,
so
thank you.
welcome. All right, that's it. This is Dawn. I'm coming to you from my office/warehouse near home, so I can go home and have a cocktail.
No.
I thank you
Oh,
for being with me, and I know we're going to have more conversations like this. So, everyone, bye now. Thanks so much for being here.
Bye.
bye.